Good morning, Bitcoiners. This is Daniel from the Bitcoin Citadel. It is day 66 of the Citadel summer, coming to an end, drawing to an end, the Citadel summer. The subject of today's rip is long and short, the long and short of it. And I was thinking about this because I talk to people who are new to Bitcoin. A lot of people talk to me about setting up their first cold wallet, how to buy Bitcoin, um, trying to get on the lifeboat, right? They're starting to understand Bitcoin. They want to get their hands on some, and they want to learn how to hold it, right? And that's what I'm all about: getting your hands on some Bitcoin and holding it long term. I'm long Bitcoin. That's me. You know, I think every single dollar that you have is a short against Bitcoin, right? I'm long Bitcoin. And right now, the price action is, for me, I always forget with people who are new, because I've been in now for, I don't know, about 5 years. I always forget with new people who this is their first cycle, their first exposure to Bitcoin, that the kind of price action that we're having now, uh, you know, less than 2 weeks ago, Bitcoin was at an all-time high. And now, as we speak today, Bitcoin rallied a little bit. It's about 110. So that's a pretty big percentage drop, you know, $15,000 on $124,000 high. That's a pretty decent drop. For me, when I see a drop like that, I want to see. I'm searching the couch for quarters so I can buy more Bitcoin. I'm short I'm short dollars, so I don't have a huge position in dollars, right? So I don't have a lot of dry powder to buy more Bitcoin. But it doesn't bother me. It's like, wow, this would be a great opportunity to buy Bitcoin on Friday. I hope it stays low until Friday when I get paid, because my paycheck goes into Bitcoin, right? That's what I'm thinking as someone who's long Bitcoin, right? People who are new to Bitcoin, they look at it as, oh my goodness, Uncle Joe told me Bitcoin was volatile and I shouldn't buy it. My financial advisor tried to convince me that Bitcoin was too volatile, and here it is. They're right. I have to get out. I have to liquidate my position, right when I got into it. So it's the first test for people who are new to Bitcoin, who bought maybe close to the top, or at the top, and now they're getting cold feet and they're starting to get nervous, which is understandable, right? I think the long position, you could just buy and hold. And that's all you need to do. I can't emphasize that enough. You don't need to borrow against your Bitcoin. You don't need to get additional leverage. You don't need to do any of those things. If you can afford, if you have the conviction and you have the ability financially to just buy and hold, that's sufficient. That's all you need to do, right? But it's tough to be long Bitcoin when you're new to the game and you see the price action like we've had now. And because we are having the price action that we have now, right before what I think is going to be a historic bull market. The bull market hasn't really even started yet in earnest, but I think it's coming. People say, well, what if this is the top? What if this, like, Bitcoin has its blow off tops and then it drops by a huge amount. Last cycle, it dropped from $69,000 high to around $16,000 at the low of the bear market, right? They're like, what if that's the time right now? This is very inconvenient for me to put my chips in on Bitcoin because I'm going to be losing for a whole year if this is the top now. And it may be, I don't know. It may be. I don't think it is. I think that we're approaching that blow off top, and that is going to occur. We will have a blow off, but it's in the future. That's my feeling. And I don't play the market anyway. I'm not looking to sell at some perceived top, and then buy back in at a bottom. I just don't have I don't have the knowledge for that. I don't have the I don't have the balls for that, to tell you the truth. And I don't need to, because all I need to do is acquire and hold, stay humble, and stack sats. That's all I need to do, right? I'm convinced of that. So why the price action now, you might ask, for right before a big bull run, Bitcoin is volatile, number one, right? It is like that waterfall coming from a mountain lake, right? That Sailor so eloquently described. But also, there are people who have been in markets for a long time, and it's always been bulls versus bears in markets. People who are short sellers versus people who are long, right? That's a historic. Historically in the markets we've had those groups that have warred with each other forever, um, and someone figured out a way to make money selling short, and they were able to make a lot of money at it. And other folks said, "Wow, look at that! You can make money when the market goes down." And they learned how to manipulate the psychology of buyers, right, to move markets, right? They learned how to be psychologists of markets and to panic buyers into selling and moving the price down, right? This is a well-known technique. There's actually laws against it, right? Because it's so effective. But the people who do this, the bears of the market, the short sellers, have figured out tricks on how to get around that. And Bitcoin is a relatively new market. It's still relatively small, right, compared to the other markets in the world. Compared to bonds and real estate, gold, all those other markets, equities, Bitcoin is a relatively small part. So a big mover, a market maker that gets into Bitcoin and has the psychology of a short seller can move the market in Bitcoin. We saw a market maker make a move last weekend, and it dropped the price of Bitcoin off a cliff for a while, right? Bitcoin moved, I think it was around $9,000, right? So since the high of 24,000, we're down at 10. So what is that? $14,000, and that's been sharp moves, right? And I think that that's been the result of short selling, deliberate short selling, to shake out the weak hands, right? There's always a winner and a loser in short selling, and the losers are the people right now who are selling their Bitcoin right before the bull run really begins, right? So, that said, don't let the market makers shake you out. Don't let the short sellers shake you out right before the bull run, because they're trying to acquire as much Bitcoin as possible because they are reading the tea leaves and they say Bitcoin is ready to blow up. And by blow up, I mean blow up. You know what I'm saying? The green candles are imminent, but that doesn't mean we're not going to have some red days. That's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin chop, 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 chop. Red day. Chop, 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 chop. Little green, little green, little green, little green, right? Big green. But there's always going to be green and red candles in Bitcoin because of the volatility and because market makers with a lot of who can afford to move the markets, who can get access to a lot of Bitcoin, who are highly liquid. Bitcoin market is not highly liquid all the time, right? So it is possible to move the market. And on Sunday, we saw that someone moved the market significantly on Sunday. The thing about Bitcoin is it's open 24/7. So if someone wants to use their leverage, their liquidity, their position to move Bitcoin, it's still possible to do that, especially on the weekends, right? So don't let them scare you out. I love Jack Mahler's Money Matters podcast, or Mailbag Monday, whatever it is, the Jack Mahler's podcast. And he used to have his dad on. And his dad, he'd always say, "Hey, Dad, what's the news from the macro front?" And every week, his dad would say the same thing. The elevator's too full. when the elevator is full, meaning that people are all long Bitcoin, right? Everyone's buying Bitcoin. Everyone's bullish on Bitcoin because the price at that time was going up, right? And he would say, in a market like this, where there's a lot of people in the elevator, it's a scare 'em out, wear 'em out time. And wear 'em out is the price just trades sideways, for a long time. And people get worn out and they say, wow, this Bitcoin thing is not really moving the way I thought it would. I'm going to quietly sell my Bitcoin and get into a position in something else. So they're short Bitcoin, right? But Bitcoin's not for them, right? Don't let this market wear you out, because it has been a wear 'em out market for a little while. We did hit an all-time high, but it wasn't like a blow-off all-time high. It went up a few $1,000s and hit an all-time high. So we've been in a wear 'em out market, but now we're seeing signs of a scare 'em out market, because we've had two big drops in the last couple of weeks, right? We had a gradual rise to an all-time high, didn't make a lot of news, wasn't that exciting. Really kind of a wear 'em out all-time high. And then we had two big drops. Those were the scare 'em out signals, right? And for people who don't have conviction, who are new to Bitcoin, who don't understand Bitcoin, a lot of Bitcoin left those hands and went into the hands of these people who move the markets, who really just wanted to acquire Bitcoin at a better price. So don't get scared out of the market right now. Don't get scared out right now. The fundamentals are still really good. The news that we've had in Bitcoin is really good lately. And Bitcoin is Bitcoin. In a way, it doesn't matter what the news is. It doesn't matter what these, the macroeconomics are of the moment, or the winds that are blowing right now. Bitcoin long term, it can't do anything but grow. There is no bottom on fiat. There is no top on Bitcoin when you're comparing the two. So don't let the bears scare you out in this market. If you're into Bitcoin and you just got into it, you got to hold, right? These are the times when you build your conviction, right? Study Bitcoin, understand it. You'll find something. For me, it was a couple of things. A couple of books I read, a couple of videos that I saw that really clicked it in for me. And that's how I got my conviction 4 or 5 years ago, right? You're on the path now. You found Bitcoin. Now is the time to develop your conviction. And now is the time when it's a great buying opportunity. The buying opportunity that you see now, today, at 110, or a few days ago at 109, is as great a buying opportunity as it was. Name your price, name your time, right? That's how good this buying opportunity is for the people who are bold and who have conviction. Remember, we're still in an early adopter phase in Bitcoin. There's a good video of mine from earlier in the summer called Who Dares Wins. This is a Who Dares Wins moment for you, right? Don't get scared out. Don't get worn out. Go long Bitcoin. This is not financial advice. This is my position, right? Go long Bitcoin if you have the balls for it, right? Otherwise, have fun staying poor. I will talk to you tomorrow. Peace.